welcome to Vibrato Week. When I first started learning the violin, I was about to graduate from high school. My mom had this old violin with broken strings in a musty smelling old case that had been deteriorating in the closet ever since I was a kid. So I gathered up all the pieces and took it to a reputable repair shop to have it fixed up. When I picked it up all polished with shiny strings attached and a new bridge, I was super excited. I just told the guy, so now where do I sign up for lessons? And that's when this wise old luthier and teacher asked me, oh, this violin is for you? How old are you? I'm like, yeah, it's for me. I'm 17, I'm going to be an Irish fiddler. And he didn't even think about it. He just said to me, yeah, you're really too old to start now, and I don't teach adults. So I left that place immediately, and I ignored his advice for the most part, obviously, but there were many times along my learning journey that I would get stuck. I always say, this is what I wanted my violin progress to look like. And this is what it actually looked like. Whenever I would get stuck on a new technique or something that just seemed completely impossible at the time, or when it seemed like I was getting worse from one day to the next instead of better, I have to admit that I would think in the back of my mind, maybe he was right. Am I just wasting my time? Am I too old? Or is there something wrong with the way my arms are attached to my body? This little thing in the back of my head created a lot of times that were very painful and frustrating, worse than they needed to be. Vibrato is one of those techniques that can get violin players feeling stuck, sometimes even for years. It seems like the harder you try to do what you know you should be doing, the more everything just gets sort of like frozen down to the fingerboard. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about why vibrato is so important, why it's so much fun, and why it can be so elusive to learn. So here's our working definition of vibrato. Vibrato, noun, from the Italian vibrare, to vibrate. A variation in pitch as a musical effect to produce a stronger, richer sound. This variation in pitch is also known as a pitch waver. Here's a clip with no vibrato, just straight steady notes. And here's the same clip with some vibrato waver. For violin, we always start on the pitch, then waver down, or also known as flat, below the pitch, and then back up to the pitch. A single waver would sound like this. The pitch, down, back up. To keep a consistent waver going, your brain has to send a signal to your hand that would read something like this. Pitch, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Seems simple enough. But this can become a real problem when you're trying to bow, which basically breaks down into a brain signal that reads down, up, down, up, down, up. See where this could be interesting? It's like the old chewing bubble gum and walking while also doing a third thing. And that third thing is really the 7 to 9 other things that you have to be doing at any given time to be able to play a tune on the violin. If you get stuck or your bow screeches the second that you try to do vibrato, all that really means is that you've been a good student of bowing, and we have to rewire the brain through a little bit of training. Otherwise, that vibrato will just always remain just out of reach. So now, why does vibrato sound so good to us? Check Google or Reddit and you'll find a lot of varying theories about these. I believe that they're all basically right and that these are the top 3 in my opinion. Reason number 1 is that it mimics the human voice when emotional. For example, just imagine Mel Gibson crying the word freedom in the final scene as William Wallace in Braveheart. I just watched the clip on YouTube to check, and I swear that the pitch of his voice is wavering rather than just staying on one steady pitch. Human emotion just naturally brings this out in the voice, so when we mimic that, we convey a sense of emotion. Reason number 2 is that it covers tuning flaws. This is a little bit controversial. Why not take advantage of this while you're learning? If your hand is loose enough to waver the pitch, then it's a little bit easier to get it to the pitch that you want it to be on, even if you don't land on it the first time every single time yet. If you take advantage of this, then you'll get to playing primetime stages sooner because your violin playing will be more listenable and more fun, which means you're going to practice more, which to me makes it more likely that you'll get through some of these curves and get your intonation on lockdown as well. And reason number 3 is that it puts your own unique fingerprint into the music. Why does every vibrato sound unique? This brings me to do a quick lesson on the 2 qualities of vibrato: speed and breadth. As far as speed, our pitch waver can be slow or fast. As far as breadth, our pitch waver can either be wide or narrow. If you think of these in the extremes, that gives you 4 different vibrato sounds: slow and narrow, slow and wide, fast and wide, fast and narrow. If you think of each of these as a continuum with all the options of speed and all the options of amplitude, in between the main ends, you can see it's pretty much infinite how many different sounds you can create. This is also known as the coloring of the sound. It's fun. You can choose to play your vibrato for each song differently, or you can play one song differently every time you play it, just depending on your mood. Once you get the hang of it, you don't even have to think about it. And the sheer millions of options means that no one will ever sound like you. Okay, so let's talk about how to get this done. There are 2 main techniques: wrist vibrato and arm vibrato. Wrist vibrato is generated by a movement from the wrist, while arm vibrato is generated right here in the elbow. You can get full expression out of either wrist or arm vibrato. The main difference is that arm vibrato is easier to learn and develop in a short time in first position. And wrist vibrato sounds a little more buttery, but takes a lot longer to develop. I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of Vibrato Week, about why vibrato is so awesome and a little slippery to learn. In part 2 of Vibrato Week, I'll be talking about the 3 most common pitfalls that can freeze up your vibrato. I'll see you soon.